Hello students, today we are going to start our fifth unit and the fifth unit mainly concentrates on application layer and its working principle. So up to we have discussed in the previous four units like the introduction part in unit 1 and the purpose of data link layer in unit 2 and the purpose of network layer in unit 3 and the purpose of transport layer in unit 4. So far we have elaborately discussed all these concepts and finally we are in our fifth unit and we are going to see the major applications of application layer and how it can be used, and we are going to also look into the key aspects which makes the application layer uh, top of the all other layers. So let us begin. So right now we are going to see our first topic called as domain namespace as well as DNS. So DNS is the specific thing that gives the address to the host. That means with the help of DNS we can easily identify the host name. So for example, if we look at the figure, we can find out that the DNS is the combination of host name and IP address, and the host name is going to transfer with IP address and the HTTP request, and especially the HTTP application typically associated with port 80. So that's what they are representing in the diagram. Once the message is received, then we are going to get the response from the server. So without CDN, in the sense, we what are the cluster DNS if we don't have? We are having the following disadvantages. So huge bandwidth requirements for routers, large propagation delays to reach the user. So disturbance content to geographically distributed cache servers often use DNS to redirect the request to user to copy the content. So domain name, for example, if you have www.yahoo.com, the IP address will be 98.138.253.109. Likewise, it goes to different clusters, and clusters origins are 128.6.4.2. So clusters is nothing but grouping together of similar things are called as my clusters. CDN terms. So origin server. The server that holds the authority copy of the content is called as the origin server. Then CDN server is the replica owned by the CDN provider to avoid the mismatch or redundant data, and if duplicate copy is always well, because if the one system crashes, we can get the data from the other one. Then CDN name server. DNS is like name server used for redirection, and client. These are the key terms that we are going to look into while discussing about CDN. So implementing DNS delegation to the CDN name server plays a layer of indirections. So as we look into it, first one is called as the domain names address, then CDN server according to the domain name. Then we are going to do one custom log map to one domain to one or many of the IP addresses. So using CDN, the CDN servers transfer the data from the original server to have a duplicated copy to the most frequent or oftenly used locations, and they are going to directly get the data from the CDN server instead of every time accessing to the actual original server. Most requests to CDN servers only remainder go to the original servers. So the whole concept working principle of CDN is, so instead of sending every request to a single server, I am going to make replicator copies at regional areas, and the systems connected to this regional areas can communicate directly with the CDN instead of directly going to the original server. It reduces the cost and also the improves the efficiency of the system. Next one we are going to see is HTTP protocol overview. Hypertext transfer protocol, and it is mainly going to focus on many things, and it's going to work with application transport network and host to net layers. Layering and modularity of application layer. It is of 4 tuple IP, port number, IPD, and then port D socket. Client server peer to peer architecture is going to formed in HTTP thing. So we have a number of protocols like Internet Protocol, TCP Protocol, UDP Protocol. In TCP Protocol, we have three common things: HTTPS, FTP, that HTTP, and SIP and RTSP for UDP. So we know HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Security, File Transfer Protocol, and Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So web and HTTP, some terms, important terms that we are going to discuss is HTTP transfer, hypertext transfer protocol. A web page contains many objects. We all know that object can be, sorry, Object can be HTML file, JPEG image, or a video stream chunk, or an audio file. That means any type of file can be available in a web page. Web page consists of basic HTML file, which includes several referenced objects. Then these each objects is uniformly resumed by a or uniformly identified by a uniform resource locator, so we all known as URL, sometimes also referred as uniform resource identifier URI. So can you tell any of the example URL? Yeah, www.gmail.com, google.com. Here the example is www.cs.rustcasters.edu, and then the path name of the index. So host name and the path name is the combination of my URL. Next one is HTTP. HTTP Hypertransfer Protocol. It is a client server based model. Client browses the request and receives the display when from the web object, and the web server sends the object in the response to the request. If you see the diagram, there is a web server, and for example, if it's a Apache HTTP server, and the PC running on the Chrome browses a HTTP request, and it is going to be forwarded by the server as a response message. So what is the HTTP message actually content? So the ASCII human readable format, request line, get, post, and command heads, head commands, get 352 syllabus.html, HTTP host www.cs.rustcasters.edu, user agent Mozilla by 4.0, connection close, acceptance language EN. So carriage written, extra carriage written line field indicates the end of the message. So these things, this is how the HTTP transfer protocol actually works, and these are all the key terminologies that we have to understand. So HTTP request general format is shared here. So this is the header file, and it has the following types of methods. Get the resource specified in the requested URL. URL may refer to a data handling process. Post, send the entities to a data handling process, that is response to a message. Head, head asks server to leave requested object out of response but send the rest to the response. Next, put, update a resource at a requested URL with a new entity specified in the entire body. Delete specified file in the URL. Difference between the post and put. The URL of a request identify the resources that process the entire body is called as post. Whereas in put, the URL of the request indicates the resource that is contained in the entire body. So this is the key difference between the post and put. Likewise, we have to see head and get, what are the differences going to play. Get return the required resource in the entire body of the response along with the response headers, and then head return all response headers in get response but without resources in the entire body. Next one is uploading from input, get and post. So post method. Web page often includes from input. Input is uploaded to the server in entire body, and also the post content not visible to the URL. Free of content. Example, images can be posted only entire body interpreted as a data byte. Get method. Exactly, body is empty. Input is uploaded in URL field of the request line. Example, http://site.com/form, and this is a sample one. So likewise we can see whatever the actual ones will be. So we have discussed so far HTTP request message format. Now we are going to see HTTP response. So once the request is sent by the sender, how the response is going to happen, and what are the major header files or key aspect that we have to know. This is the header format. So it has version, status code, parser, and other things, and after followed by a body, and the status line protocol indicates the version of the HTTP used and the connection closed or not, and the date, server, and when which server is used, content place, and what type of content I am going to receive, and other blah 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 things is going to be followed by this. And again, what are the key transfers we are going to see? The first line of the server, client response message, a few sample codes, 200 OK, request succeed, 301 moved permanently, 403 forbidden, 404 not found, 505 HTTP version not supported. These are all the activities that we are going to receive, or these are all the responses code that we are going to see whenever the sender sends a request to the HTTP response. Next one is World Wide Web. So we all know we are in the new era of Gen Z. We know we are using the internet in most educational and healthier way. So let us see what it leads to. Web caches. Web caches machines that remember web response via network. Web cache, web response. Why web cache and web response? Reduces response time for a client request and reduces traffic on institution access link. So these things we are going to discuss about cache memory of the web. So instead of directly going every time from the scratch, we can store a format called as cache, and whenever the request is made, the web crawler is going to search in the cache first. If it is available in the cache, it will post it directly from there instead of searching it. So this is the thing. Web caching uses a proxy server. So this is a duplicate server. You can configure HTTP proxy on your laptop's network setting. If you do, your browser sends all HTTP requests to the proxy. The cache returns the object. Web caching using a proxy server. To get the web cache server, what I have to do is get foo HTML. This is one of the example that how we are going to do. The web server is connected to the internet to the client, and those things are client is going to interact with the proxy server instead of the original server. Okay, the original server is available in particular location, and via internet I made a duplicate copy as a proxy server, and my systems are in that region are actually going to work in the proxy server. It is similar to the concept that we discussed in the previous unit. So how these things are going to happen? So web caches, how does it look on a HTTP? The conditional get guarantees cache content is up to date while still saves traffic and response time whenever possible, and also date in the cache request is the last time the server provides its own response and header last modified. So this is the format of the cache. Themes of HTTP. So request response nature of the product, special HTTP address to customize actions of the protocols, ASCII based message structure, improve performance using caching, scale using a level of layer of interdirection, simply highly customizable protocol permitting efficient implementation and flexible functionality. These are all the basics that we enjoy today. I hope you people understood what is the use of HTTP, what is the WWF, and what is the use of cache. So, see you in the next class, students. Thank you.